Andy Ward, good morning.
Hi.
You are Chief Technology Officer at Ubisense. I've been reading a lot about your company, but I'm sure our viewers are going to be very excited to hear about, your company and what you're doing. So in a nutshell, can you please explain us what is Ubisense and, what are you most excited about for the future?
Okay. So we are a Cambridge, UK-based company. We started in 2002. And what we do is we give computers senses. So we make them able to sense what's happening in the real world and change the way that they work. So we look for the positions of objects and people, things in the real world, and see how they interact with each other. And when we see things interact in an interesting way, then we can program the computers to do interesting things with that information and react to what's happening in the real world. So by using location information to change the way computers work, we can address problems in a whole range of different industries, all the way from entertainment through transit to military. But most of what we do is actually in the industrial space. So we actually look at trying to make factories more efficient by working out where things are, where people are, how they're interacting, and see what we can do to make factories operate more efficiently with lower waste and with higher productivity.
And yes, 5G has been such a buzzword, lately, and lots of companies are investing in it. It's definitely something that, there's a strong uptake. So what do you think are the sectors that could benefit most from Ubisense and 5G in general? And from your experience, what should they be focusing on for the future?
In our kind of area, most of what Ubisense does is in the industrial space. So we do look at these other markets as well. But in the industrial space, manufacturers are always looking for high reliability. They've got to keep their factories working all the time. And in the past, that's been quite a barrier to adoption of wireless networks, because previously wireless networks like Wi-Fi were pretty shaky. They had relatively low bandwidth. It was quite hard to use those effectively in industrial settings, because if your factory stops and you stop making things because your wireless network doesn't work, it's a really big problem.
Right?
Catastrophe, absolutely. And so, the advent of 5G solves a lot of these problems. It really is a kind of carrier grade wireless technology. It's got incredibly high bandwidth. It allows low latency applications for control and so on. So that's a real game changer if companies can adopt it. And so for Ubisense, 5G and similar wireless technologies are really interesting for us because they allow us to get rid of huge amounts of cabling that are used to support the sensor networks that we deploy around factories. Of course. And if we can leverage that ability to have really high-speed, reliable communications within factories, then that's a real game changer in terms of adoption of our technology, and that allows a wider set of manufacturers to take on board these new Industry 4.0 sensing technologies that will make their operations more efficient.
Yeah, more efficient, saving money. It looks like there's so much potential, but 5G is still in its infancy. So what needs to happen to make it a reality?
I think that 5G is, people are kind of convinced that it really will work. They're convinced by the technology. But as a technology for adoption by industry, it's quite a complex ecosystem for them to get their heads around. Mm-hmm. So there are multiple people at different levels of the stack providing different parts of the solution. And so it's hard for a factory operation, which is naturally a very conservative place. They really want to make sure that they're buying into the right thing and it's going to have, decades of longevity. They really have a problem at the minute, I think, working out exactly what the constellation of people in the provision chain is. And so one thing that I think 5G has to kind of look at is how they diversify that chain and make sure that it's easy for people like factories to buy this technology and install it, get it running, make it just as easy as a Wi-Fi network at home, really, which it isn't at the moment.
And just to finish this interview, the UK is embracing 5G, but what do you think the UK should be doing to maintain a competitive edge? Are we doing enough? And where do you think we could improve?
I don't think we're doing enough. I think there could be more because, if we look abroad at various countries like Germany and so on, there they make it easier to, look at 5G. They have different spectrum kind of rules that allow industry to actually pick up on 5G in a more kind of direct kind of way. And so, I know that German manufacturers right now are looking at different ways of deploying 5G, private 5G networks for their factories, which don't easily fit into the way that we do it in the UK. There are some green signs there, green shoots there. I mean, I think people are looking at sort of open RAN approaches for 5G and enabling those in the UK, but it's quite slow. And I think I'd encourage the 5G ecosystem to try and be a bit more dynamic in the UK about getting those technologies out there, getting manufacturers using them and getting them comfortable with using those in their mission critical operations.
So looking at what other people are doing, other countries are doing, and also being more dynamic, that's the best advice you're giving to
Absolutely.
the UK. Brilliant. Well, Andy Ward, thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with us today. We hope that you will be enjoying the rest of London Tech Week and have a fantastic day.
Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.